All right. So the LILJ is back for another edition of the Weekly Crossbar Podcast here on this Friday. Ellis Joshua joined alongside me is Coach Wink. Coach Wink, how you doing here today?
I'm doing wonderful, Ellis. It's a Friday morning and preparing for the playoffs, getting all excited about all the different matchups we're about to watch. So it's life is good, man. No complaints. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And yeah, you said it. We're definitely just kind of gearing up for the playoffs right now. We've already had a couple of play-in games take place, also playoffs and championships for the Catholic League. But yeah, we're really getting ready to hit the ground running here for the home stretch of the high school season. So it's definitely going to be a fun next few weeks here, going through the opening rounds of the playoffs all the way up to the state championships. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll be putting a lot of miles on our car, but that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's all part of it. We're hoping. I was saying this yesterday to you. I don't remember the last time Long Island in boys or girls swept the state championships, but I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like we got a shot this year to do it in at least one of the genders.
Hey, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping for.
I would love to see an eight-peat, um, get an eight-peat, get
Yeah.
eight CD Long Island state champs in boys, state champs in girls.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're hoping for every year, of course. That's the ultimate goal. Um, but yeah, so as we kind of always do on the weekly crossbar, we're gonna do a little week in review with the games covered by the LILJ over the past week or so. So we have to go back to last Friday, which was May 9th. And on that Friday, the LILJ was on site over at Sacred Heart Academy for a matchup between the Spartans and St. Dom's. And going into that game, the winner of that game was going to get the number two seed in the Catholic League between St. Anthony's, Sacred Heart, St. Dom's, and Kellenberg. So Sacred Heart and St. Dom's were fighting for the two seed in that game. And it was St. Dom's who ended up winning that matchup. 12-9 was your score. So St. Dom's, they secured the two seed. And fast forward now to this week and yesterday, St. Dom's they got a win in their semifinal game against Callenberg. So St. Dom's making a little program history as they will be playing in their first championship game in the history of the program, which is going to be taking place tomorrow evening at Adelphi against St. Anthony's. So huge shout out to St. Dom's and what they've been able to do this season. And just kind of going back just to highlight that game against Sacred Heart that got them the two seed. I mean, Marlo Knox, we talked about it back earlier in the spring, Coach Wink, when we found out that she was over at St. Dom's transferring from Oyster Bay this year. And what a huge acquisition. I mean, it can't be understated how major that acquisition was getting Knox for the St. Dom's program. She had 6 goals in that game against Sacred Heart. She was 6-1 and really just dominant, seemed to be uncoverable. But what a pickup for St. Dom's.
Yeah, getting Marlo Knox for the Bayhawk, the Lady Bayhawks, was like when Emma LaPinto and Rachel Clark left their respective schools, Virginia and Florida. Emma was at Florida and Rachel Clark was at Virginia, and they went to Boston College. And now, for the last 2 years, Boston College has been in the Final Four. Last year, obviously winning it. This year, playing for. So Marlo Knox had made some major noise doing the transfer. She's had a great year for the Lady Bayhawks. Arguably the biggest transfer pickup in the high school transfer portal, which is starting now. We're
Yeah.
we got to set a little tab on our website with it says transfer portal where they click on it like we do the prospect days, and then they're like, "All right, I want to transfer," and then see. It's funny, you see all these kids and they're evaluating. The only place you really could transfer to is this private school, but there's
Right.
kids that leave Long Island and go to
True.
prep schools and IMG
Yep.
and all these places, but it's wild. But shout out to Coach Caramelli for doing a great job with the Dominic Lady Bayhawks, and they will battle out the Lady Friars. Who did you see the score of the game against Sacred Heart in the
Yeah. I
semifinal?
I saw that 21-3.
OMG.
Yeah.
We need that big OMG thing the Mets had last year.
Yeah. The
You
oh
know,
my God. Jose, shout out to Jose Iglesias. He should still be a Met, just saying.
absolutely, we
But
miss them. But the reality is that the Lady Friars are going to be playing at 7 p.m. against obviously the upstart St. Dom Bayhawks. That's going to be a classic where it looks like if St. Anthony's can pull out the victory at Adelphi, they could go back to back national champs.
yep. Yeah, that's really what they're playing for at this point. It's for the Catholic Championship and to remain number one in the country for the second straight year.
That
That
would give them almost 40 straight wins.
yeah, because you're looking at so last year they were 19 and 0. This year, obviously they're undefeated. I believe they're 14 and 0 or 15 and 0.
I'll have
And
to
then
Google that. I'll check out that website, the LILJ Journal. Seems to have all that information at your fingertips. Let's pull up the parochial ladies and see where they are. I don't know if last night's game was entered.
yeah, last night's game was entered.
Oh, and interesting. So we will see. They are 16 and 0 going into that game.
16. Okay. So yeah, so 16 and 0 right now, plus the 19 wins from last year. So then you're at 35. And then of course, going back to the 2023 season, they weren't undefeated that year, but of course you just pick up from where the winning streak started. So yeah, I would think you're looking at over 40 straight wins right now for the Friars.
Ellis, their goals against for the
Oh,
2025 season is
it's
3.375 per game.
that's crazy. That's like unheard of. That's crazy. And yesterday winning against Sacred Heart, that was the second of back-to-backs for them because they just played, of course, we were there the day before against Cold Spring Harbor, and we'll get into that game in a bit, but you're ending the season playing 3 games in 4 days.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. I wish they
Yeah.
had I wish they had a national championship tournament. I'd like to start it, but I don't know if we could ever make it work with all the craziness going on in the summer for these kids.
Yeah, it's a lot. But But yeah, shout out to the Friars, and again, we'll go through the games in sequential order. But we started off talking about St. Dom's and the great season that they've had, and just running through the other POGs in that game against Sacred Heart. So Lily Di Natale, the sophomore, she was 3-1. Ellie Johnston, she's a 2028. She had 2 goals, and I thought she was really good on the circle, getting ground balls off the draw, and then defensively, Kira Layback for St. Dom's played very well also. But we can move on now to Saturday. So Saturday the 10th, we had our guy Jack. We'll start with his game. So he was over at Seaford High School where he saw the Vikings taking on Calhoun. So that was a 12-10 final. Seaford getting the win in that one, and he saw a competitive game and I was able to follow along on the stories once I got home covering the game I was at. But for that game, Jack's POGs, he had Jess Grizzlastic, the future Mercy Mav. She was 2-3. Sophia Santella, she was 2-1. Kelly Harrington added a goal and 2 assists. And then defensively, Ashley Toohey. So those were your POGs for the Vikings. And shout out to Jack. He did a good job, I thought, with the coverage on that game. And I like the dual coverage, you know? We've been able to
Oh yeah,
start doing that, and it's gonna pick
we're gonna
up.
have more than dual coverage. We're gonna
Yeah.
have quad coverage.
Yeah. It's gonna get crazy, but we're definitely gonna try to have as many people on the ground as possible covering a bunch of games throughout the playoffs.
And you were at the Dallas game last Saturday, huh?
Yeah, so I was over in Farmingdale, so I saw Farmingdale the girls taking on Locust Valley, and Farmingdale, they won that contest 13-8. So for Farmingdale, my POGs in that game, Catherine Meyer, she was a feeding machine. She had 4 assists along with the goal. Regan O'Connor, of course, one of your top 2027s on the island. She had 4 goals and also an assist. and just really playing a complete game, I thought, on both ends of the field. The eighth grader, Molly McNamara, and we talked about her a few weeks back when we covered Farmingdale against Southside, just how impressed we were with McNamara, just an eighth grader, and stepping up on the big stage for Farmingdale. So in that game, she had 3 goals, also an assist, and she takes the majority of the draws for Farmingdale. And in the net, Megan Caputo, she had 11 saves. Thought she played really well. Saw a lot of shots, but thought she held her own for sure. And then defensively, Emma Savino for the Dalers had a couple caused turnovers and ground balls, but that was a nice win for Farmingdale last weekend.
Did you see? Did you see they won their opener yesterday? I don't know.
Yes,
Did you see the stats McNamara put up?
I did. I did
Molly
not.
McNamara had 6 goals
Oh
in
my goodness.
as an eighth grader in her
In a
first
playoff game.
playoff game.
That's nuts.
For
That
those of
that
you, for
that's
those of you
so
at home,
impressive.
we're gonna nickname her Ice because she's got ice in her veins.
Oh
Nothing
yeah.
bothers this kid, and she just stepped up. Ice was George Gervin's nickname, which
Yeah,
was a
the
great
Iceman.
the Ice Man. She's the Ice Woman. Molly Mack crushing it as an eighth grader. We'll talk about another youngster in a few minutes who absolutely had a highlight last night in the Westhampton West Islip game. But I don't want to get too far ahead of us because we went to a doozy of a game right the next night.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So we were, yeah, so that was Monday. Monday we were at Kings Park Shoreham. So that was our game of the week. So we were live streaming that game from the press box, and it was senior night also. We were making our way to some senior nights too, unintentionally,
Seen a
but
lot of those. Seen
but
a lot of
yeah, unintentional, but it's kind of just worked out that way.
which
Hey,
which
we'll take it.
yeah, which is a relatively new phenomenon in the world of high school sports. I was having a conversation with an athletic director the other day, and it's become to the point where it's almost like we'll call it like a mini prom the way they do it. I mean, the amount of time that goes into it. So shout out to the coaches and the athletic directors and the parents and kids that put these together. Um, I don't really I'm not a huge senior night fan, to be honest with you. I believe that that's something you do after the season. I think it's about the team, but like in college, how they do it is they have a banquet, and then each senior gets something at the banquet. I guess in high school they don't do it that way. That's just me. I'm more
Yeah,
about
I
the
guess
team.
it's also too because the way they typically schedule it is it's for your last home game. So
Yeah,
it's like so it kind of makes sense. Like I can see why they do that because it's the
yeah.
last time you're stepping on that field at home unless like you get a home playoff game. So
Yeah, unless you get a home playoff game, which is in Suffolk County is a big deal because you get a lot more of those. But I'm just saying it's just not my thing. I'm more about the team until the season ends, and then you can start talking about the kids' great seasons and all that fun stuff. But that was an offensive game. Would they have 30 goals in that game?
yeah, your final score was 17-13 Kings Park. So yes, a combined 30 goals.
So defense was sold separately.
I like to say defense optional. But but Kings Park with that win, they secured the 1 seed in Suffolk Class C. And again, they've obviously had a tremendous season, just one loss on the year. And
Ellis, Kings Park men's or boys and girls lacrosse both have had amazing years.
100%.
Big
Oh
shout
yeah.
out to those programs for stepping up. And I mean, not the programs that we normally are talking about at this time of the year, but looks like both of them are heading to the playoffs,
Yes,
which is cool.
absolutely.
Shout out to both programs. Congratulations to both coaching staffs and all their kids. Good job, Kings Park.
Yeah, they've had a tremendous season and watching that game and being on the call for that game. I mean, how about the day that Jack Salva had? He had
Holy
10
cow.
points, 6 and 4.
Yeah, that was a big day for Salvin, a Merrimack commit.
Oh yeah.
At one time, I saw he stung one. It looked like he was shooting it from his toes. You know the one I'm talking about? It looked like he shot it
Yes.
from his toes,
Yup.
stuck it in the upper corner. Yeah, yeah, he had a big day. I mean, you see the POGs. You had what, 2, 4, 5 POGs that day.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Luke Griffin, the Maryland commit, he had a big day. He was 5-1. Billy Berhalter, he was 2-3. I did like defensively. I like the pole James Haggerty. I thought he had some big ground balls. Also had a couple plays where he was able to get possession for Kings Park, winning the chase for possession closest to the end line, beating out Shoreham a couple times. Um, but but yeah, Kings Park, that was just an offensive explosion. I mean, at the face-off X, Laviano, he had
yeah, he's
himself.
my guy. He's my guy. He's the X factor.
Yeah,
He
I
drives
agree.
the bus. He drives the bus. Without him, you don't get the ball. He
Yeah,
drives the bus.
yep.
He's your bus driver. That kid, unbelievable. I've already texted college coaches about this kid. Undersized, but not in heart and effort.
Hey, I always say heart over height. That's the way,
100%.
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I told Geneseo they should get this kid because this kid he will be a great college player.
Hmm.
He's just got that heart. And I love the fans at Kings Park. I got to tell you, that was my best favorite part of the game. We're sitting in the press box and watching all the parents. It was like a love fest. It was wonderful to see. A very tight knit community, and the families are very close. And I think that's wonderful. That's what it's all about. Shout out to Kings Park. Very high on my list. Their real estate value went way up with me.
I like that, the real estate value. Oh, also too, quick shout out to Jake Tetralt from the pregame.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
on the guitar doing the national anthem. He
That was
crushed it.
sick, dude.
So talented.
Did we post that anywhere?
Yeah, so we got our girl Christine who was there. She got a bunch of photos and videos, but she got a photo of him on the guitar and it's posted on the LILJ.
It is, because that kid crushed the
Yeah,
national anthem.
yeah, he did great.
Yeah, good shout out. Good job there, bud.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a nice night in Kings Park.
It
And
was. It was a fun
again,
night. We had a really good time.
yeah, and again, good for them on the season that they've had this year. Um, so then after that, so now we're up to May 13th. So we had a double header that day, or
Triple.
so yes. So myself, I had a doubleheader. In total, we had 3 games covered, 2 simultaneously, and then a nightcap. So we'll start off over at John Glenn. So we were there to see Babylon and John Glenn on the girl side. And Babylon, they got the win 18-6 as they make their way into the playoffs. So some of the players that stood out and played very well. Riley Bush, who's only a freshman, she was 4-1. Lily Crowledge, the junior, she had 5 goals. Peyton Logue Boyd, she was 2-2. Junior committed to Arizona State, and also she was dominant on the draw circle as well, winning the possession game for Babylon. But Babylon, that's a team that, of course, we'll see in the postseason in Class D. And for John Glenn, I mean, they have a number of young guns. They have a number of eighth graders and seventh graders on their team that I think are getting really good, valuable varsity experience. I mean, and we know who they are. Players like Michaela Griever, who's a 2029, Kalina Jasinska, she's a 2030. So Griever in that game, she was 2-2. Jasinska, she also added 2 goals. But there's a number of young guns in the John Glenn program, the Ferruzis, Kaylee Webb. So these are names to certainly look out for over the next handful of years, regardless of where they end up playing in high school.
Yeah, these kids are in middle school. These kids were not affected by playing these, Division I recruits. And by the way, Peyton Logue Boyd
Mhm.
dominated the draws. I would say she won 90% of the draws. Would you say it was around that?
Yeah, yeah. if not more than that.
She was definitely the biggest factor because the ball was continuously in Babylon's
Hmm.
sticks.
Yep,
Very tough
no
to
doubt.
play when you don't have the ball,
Yeah,
score goals.
yeah,
But it was fun hanging out in John Glenn. We were a little moist. It was a little moist.
yeah, a little bit. Although, if you think about it, that was nothing compared to the next day. So,
Yeah, yeah. And we sent Jack to a playing game, right? Wasn't Jack in a playing game that day?
yeah, so Jack, he was over at Oyster Bay because you had a play-in game in Nassau Class D to get into the semifinals. So it was Oyster Bay hosting Wheatley. So Wheatley won their conference, which is why you had the play-in game, why they were able to get in. So Wheatley won their conference and took on Oyster Bay, and Oyster Bay ended up beating Wheatley. So they got a pretty convincing win. They won 17-5, but another program like John Glenn, where Oyster Bay, they have a number of young guns. We're talking players like Addie Fox, Sophie Caramico, Margot Roche. So these are players that have stepped up big time for Oyster Bay, and those were Jack's POGs in that contest. So Oyster Bay, with that win, they move on to the semifinals where they'll play Cold Spring Harbor. That's your 1-4 matchup, and that game is going to take place on Monday over at Adelphi.
That's the semifinals of the Class D Nassau, correct?
Yep.
Got it. So that what is the schedule for that? It's Oyster Bay, Cold Spring at 5.
Yeah, so they're the first game. They're the 5 o'clock game. And then the 2-3 at 7 is Locust Valley, Carl Place.
So if you're in the area, stop down to Adelphi and root these kids on. Should be a good experience. Then you drove from John Glenn. I went home, but you drove and watched Manhasset take it to Southside. It sounded like Manhasset won that game pretty handedly.
Yeah, they did. They kind of jumped on Southside early and they never trailed. They were up by 4 after the first quarter and they wound up winning the game 14-8. So that's a good win for Manhasset. Of course, that was your county championship last year in Class B. This year, of course, Southside in the C's, so they won't be seeing each other in the playoffs. But a good matchup between two very good teams that took place, and Manhasset getting a pretty convincing win. So that's a really good win against Southside. But for Manhasset, Phil Palumbo, boy, did he step up. Palumbo in the 2027 class, he had a big time game with 4 goals, also 2 assists. For Manhasset, Connor Sheeran, he was 3-1. Tommy Leader, 1-3. Henry Griffith in the cage, he had 13 saves. He he's funny too. I was hearing there was a little smack talking going on during that game. I gotta say. It was
Was it humorous?
I thought it was humorous. I don't know if the guys involved did, but I think I have a feeling they might know each other from football, those guys, because it sounded like there was like some football talk going on. So,
That's
but
cool. Going from one
I
sport to the other. I like it. Multi-sport athletes talking a little. As long as the trash talking doesn't get out of hand, it's all good. It's all good and fun.
Yeah, no, I don't think it got out of hand by any means. It's just your typical high school banter. But
Okay.
I,
Well, we
th
all
I
can use
thought
a
it's
chuckle now
I
here and
thought
there.
yeah, I thought I was entertained. But anyway, also Michael DiPietro defensively clearing the ball, ground balls was big, and your D midi Kyle Melkonian, I thought he played very well also. But again, just a really
Is he
quality win.
related to the Melkonian that played midfield for Southside last year? The face-up kid.
You know, I don't know for sure, but I was thinking because you have a Melkonian on Manhasset and a DiPietro on Manhasset, and then last year on Southside, of course, you had DiPietro and Melkonian.
Oh,
But
that's interesting. I think DiPietro might be spelled differently.
yeah, I think the Southside DiPietro, I believe, is DI.
Correct. But I think the
Manhasset's D.
Melkonians are cousins.
Okay.
Let's ask the audience. Anybody listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
shoot us a DM and confirm that Mikey Melkonian, who went to Cornell, the Southside faceoff kid, is he related to the Melkonian short stick D midi at Manhasset? I'm going to say yes. That's my guess.
Yeah, I would guess that also.
Well, we'll let the audience confirm that or deny it.
Yeah. Hey, we always want to know about the bloodlines.
We love the bloodlines.
We're
There's
big. We're
there's a
big.
lot of good bloodlines in lacrosse. Lacrosse is probably the most connected sport with bloodlines because, like, I mean, how many times are we like, oh, that's my cousin, oh, that's and then it's like you got like 12 great lacrosse players with all different last names and they're all related,
Yeah, yeah. Yup.
right?
We see that a lot.
We do, we do, and it's cool. It's cool. Well, it's that kind of sport. Um, the following day was when we really caught the rain. Matter of fact, did you ask Jack at his Smithtown West Harborfields boys game if he got hit with rain? Because he was later that night. Did you ever ask him about that?
No, I didn't ask him, but I was following along on that game when I got home. So it seemed like it was pretty dry when he was covering that game. So I think he was okay.
Because at Cold Spring Harbor St. Anthony Girls, it was the hardest rain we've ever stood in. And it happened like every quarter. It stopped,
Yeah.
torrential, stopped, torrential.
Yeah, they were teasing us. Just when you put the umbrella away, it's back and
Yeah.
it's downpouring again.
Yeah, St. Anthony's was not affected by the rain.
No, not at all. It's funny because before that game started, I was talking with Julia May's mom, and she was saying like it's always raining when St. Anthony's is playing, and I'm like it is. I was thinking that, but then I was like, hey, that could be advantage St. Anthony's in this game because they are used to it. And
Yeah.
you're right, they were unaffected.
I mean, when has Cold Spring Harbor ever been in a 10 goal deficit? I'd like to know if it's happened since Danielle's taken over that program. She's been coaching there. Let me think. I think she took over in 2000. I'm
So
going to
maybe
say
like
she took over in like
maybe,
2007.
yeah, I was gonna say I want to say it's like 17 or 18 years.
Yeah. I, I, I wouldn't be surprised if she hasn't, in her career, hasn't had too many games like that.
Oh, and yeah, there's a good chance that then you could probably count on one hand the amount of times where she's faced a 10 goal deficit.
It
We
just
know
shows you
it's
how
not
good St.
often.
Anthony's is because Cold Spring Harbor is a very good lacrosse team.
Oh yeah, they're an excellent team and they're having a great season. But yeah,
Yeah.
St. Anthony's, again, it just shows how deep they are and how talented that team is.
Yeah, it's funny because you always can tell at the end of the game when you're deciding who you're picking as your POGs, and you can never have less than six.
Yeah. I
They
try
only play 11 in the field.
I try, I try to prepare myself as best as I can for games like that.
Yeah,
I try to bring enough inventory.
yeah, yeah. The t-shirt guys love us. They love St. Anthony's. Funny. One of the St. Anthony's seniors who's going to West Point, who's been stepping up the last few games, has been their goaltender, Jess Black.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Jess Black. She was great in that game against Cold Spring Harbor. Of course, going back a few weeks ago, she was big time in the Darien game. Yeah, Jess Black, I think she's got to feel really good about the way she's been playing lately.
Yeah, I heard she played very well against Sacred Heart in the semis yesterday too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so she's feeling it now. And who else did you have as your POGs?
Yeah, so my POGs in that game, besides Jess, we had Emma Speed, Anna Christie, Kat Rathjen, Meg Langton, and Julia May.
Yeah, so I mean defense. You got to have defenders and goaltenders when it comes to the Lady Friars because when you're holding teams, I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago when Bayport won the state championship. They had an unbelievable defense.
Yes, yeah, you're talking about the 2023 team.
Yeah, that team was like holding teams to like, 1, 2 goal. I think they held, well, last year they held American Heritage to 1 goal, which was a top 20
Yep,
national
I
program.
remember that. Yeah,
I think they beat them 4-1 or
Yeah,
something. But
4-1, I want to say.
I mean, St. Anthony's obviously Darien put 8 on them. Chatham put 7 on them. They were winning 5-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Right. But they only scored two the rest of the game. So
Yeah.
defense turned it on.
Kudos to
North Townsend
Darcy and her
won.
staff, Coach Messina and her staff, Coach Michaels and Coach Corey, for getting the girls ready. But they better be ready Saturday night because I know Coach Caramelli is going to junk it up a little bit and throw some stuff at them, and they better be ready. The girls better be primed because they got a lot on the line. A lot on the
Yeah,
line.
of course. Yeah, and when you're number one, the target's always on your back. You know you're going to get your best from everybody that you play.
Yeah, I would get as many little girls to that Adelphi University Stadium to watch these two talented teams.
Yes, absolutely. That's a 7 p.m. start
So
tomorrow night.
what happened with Jack's game that night? I know Harborfields ended up pulling it out, right?
Yeah, Harborfields ended up winning 6-4. So Harborfields, they have the 3 seed in Class B. Smithtown West, they're right now the 4 seed. Um, but yeah, 6-4 game. And Jack's POGs were Jack Weiss, Chase Ritzy, and Nick Shalero. And it's interesting too because we saw Harborfields not too long ago against East Islip, and even though Harborfields didn't win that game, Shalora had 18 saves. So he had
What
a
did he have
big.
the other day?
I don't have the exact total
Let me
on
pull it
that
up.
game
Let me pull that baby
on
up. See if
his
I
on
got
his
it.
saves, but hey, if you're only allowing 4 goals in a game, obviously you'll take that any day of the week.
Dude, that kid's good. I like that kid Shalero a lot. He's a hell of a goalie.
Yeah, and Harborfields, they're having a nice season. Um,
Yeah, Shalero's at almost 60% for the year. Got 157 saves. I'm clicking on the Smithtown West game to see the details on his stats for the day. Oh, his stats are not in yet. Good to know. I'm gonna find out. I gotta get the stats in. Damn, glad we had this conversation. Gotta figure that out. So that's the Harborfields Short Smithtown West game. Gotta make note. Okay, cool. Oh, it's funny. I have it written down right here. Didn't realize that it hadn't put it in
oh, you
yet.
have you have it, okay.
I wrote it down, but I didn't put the stats in. I gotta put them in. That's cool. All right. That will be done the minute we're finished this podcast. We only have a couple more games to cover, right?
Yeah, we have 2 more games to go through.
Who's up next?
So we're up to yesterday now. So yesterday we did another little double dipping. So you and I, along with Connor, who's going to be another guy that will have boots on the ground doing some game coverage. We were over at West Islip versus Westhampton on the girl side. So I think you're right, Wink. I think West Islip, that's becoming like a secondary home for me.
I tell you, it's a beautiful place to live. You might want to look at
Hey,
the real estate there. What do you
hey,
think?
I'm not complaining. I am not complaining.
No, it's a beautiful
Uh,
place to live.
but yeah, Westhampton winning that game 10-6. So that actually snapped a 12-game winning streak for West Islip. They had been on some run, but that streak comes to an end in yesterday's game with the win for Westhampton. So obviously those are 2 teams that can make some serious noise in the postseason. Um, 2 very talented teams, West Islip in Class B, Westhampton in Class C. And in yesterday's game for Westhampton, Ava Derby, she played awesome. Defeated
Awesome.
Maryland Terp 3-1, but going beyond just the stats. I mean, she's just
She
we are
did it all. She did everything yesterday. She played defense, offense,
up,
cleared the
cause
ball.
turnovers, everything.
I thought Ava Derby was I mean, Reese King plays great every time we see her. Ava Derby's game has just escalated to another level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought they played really well. I thought Maya Farnan played
Yep.
awesome in the net.
Yeah.
Isn't she you know what that's not discussed enough when we discuss this, and I want to talk about the intangibles. Farnan's one of them, King's one of them. great leaders,
Yes.
amazing leaders of women. And those two young
Yes,
ladies,
those are two individuals where if you want to aspire to be like certain individuals in the sport of girls lacrosse, those are certainly two individuals to look up to, 100%, beyond just like what they do on the field.
100%. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I think just two young ladies that like I want my granddaughters to grow up and be like.
Yes,
You
I
know what I mean?
completely agree.
Good quality people. And obviously we got to talk about the young gun, dude. Yeah, and that video, did you post that video of that goal of Clamor's goal?
It's on the stories, yeah. And yeah, Mackenzie Clammer, she was another POG, but unfortunately she had left. I think she had National Junior Honor Society. But so unfortunately she wasn't in the picture, but I did give a t-shirt to the girls to give to her. So if she doesn't have it now, she'll have it very soon. But yeah, Clammer stepped up big time as well. And again, just a seventh grader. Um, we're running low on time though, Coach Wink, so we could kind of wrap up part one, and then we could do a brief part number two, continuing the conversation if you'd like.